In a town nestled between forgotten hills and sleepy rivers, there lived an old man named Elias. He was no ordinary man. He was the Hourglass Maker. His hands, though wrinkled and slow, moved with a grace that seemed to defy time itself. From his dusty workshop, he crafted hourglasses of such exquisite precision that kings and scholars from distant lands would travel for weeks just to own one. They said his hourglasses didn't just measure time. They held a piece of its very soul. But Elias harbored a secret, as silent and steady as the sand in his creations. With each hourglass he shaped and filled, he poured in not just sand, but a single shimmering grain of his own life. The glass held the moments he would never live, the breaths he would never take. So, with every sail, as another person gained a measure of time, Elias grew a little older, a little frailer. The ticking of his clocks was the countdown of his own existence. One moonless night, the bell above his shop door chimed, announcing a visitor. A nobleman, draped in velvet and arrogance, strode in. His face, a mask of vanity, was etched with the fear of growing old. "I am told you are the master of time," he declared, his voice dripping with condescension. "I want an hourglass that grants eternal youth. Name your price. Gold, power. I can give you anything your heart desires." Elias looked up from his workbench, his eyes weary but clear. He had seen this hunger before, this desperate attempt to cheat fate. "Sir," he replied softly, his voice like the gentle rustle of falling sand, "time can be borrowed, it can be measured, but it can never be owned. To halt its flow is to defy nature itself, and nature always collects its debts." The nobleman's face twisted in a snarl. His pleasantries vanished, replaced by raw, ugly fury. "Old fool," he spat. "Do you know who I am? I can have this pathetic little shop, and everything you hold dear, reduced to ashes by dawn." He gestured wildly, his shadow dancing menacingly on the walls, lined with hourglasses. "Your family, your legacy, all gone." A shadow of fear passed over Elias's face. Not for himself, but for the innocent lives the nobleman threatened. He could not let his principles bring ruin upon others. With a heavy heart, he nodded slowly. "As you wish," he conceded. The nobleman smiled, a triumphant, cruel curve of his lips. But as Elias worked through the night, a different plan took shape in his mind. He wasn't crafting a tool of eternal youth. He was forging a lesson. He selected a special blend of sand, one that didn't glitter with the warmth of gold, but gleamed with a cold, silvery light. He meticulously assembled the hourglass, but with one crucial, hidden difference. He designed it to run backward. When the nobleman returned, Elias presented the creation. It was beautiful and unsettling, the silver sand swirling like a captured winter storm. "Flip it," Elias instructed, "and your wish will be granted." Without a moment's hesitation, the nobleman seized the hourglass and turned it over. He watched, mesmerized, as the silver sand began to flow upward, defying gravity, defying time. Instantly, a miracle unfolded before his eyes. The deep lines on his forehead smoothed into flawless skin. His graying hair darkened to a rich, youthful black. He felt a surge of vitality, the energy of a man half his age. He looked at his reflection in the polished glass and roared with laughter. "It works! You old wizard! It works!" he shouted, delirious with joy. "Keep running backward," he commanded the hourglass, as if it were a loyal servant. "Forever!" But the magic of the backward flowing sand held a terrible curse. As the nobleman reveled in his restored youth, he felt a strange emptiness creep into his mind. He tried to recall his greatest military victory, but the memory was a faint whisper. He tried to picture the face of his first love, but it was a blur. each grain of sand that flowed upward wasn't just erasing a wrinkle. It was stealing a year from his past, his triumphs, his sorrows, his loves, his losses. All were being consumed by the relentless, reversing time. Even his own name began to feel foreign on his tongue. Soon, the grand nobleman was gone, replaced by a confused young man wandering the vast, empty halls of his own palace. Then he was a teenager, then a boy. He became a child, lost in a world too big for him. Frightened by the looming shadows and the silence of his own forgotten home, his laughter had turned to sobs, cries that echoed through the gilded corridors, unheard and unanswered. The sound of that desolate weeping reached Elias in his small workshop. Guilt gnawed at him. He had intended to teach a lesson, not to unmake a soul. He hurried to the nobleman's palace and found him huddled in a corner, no older than 10, clutching a priceless vase and crying for a mother he could no longer remember. "Please," the boy whimpered, looking at Elias with wide, terrified eyes. "Make the sand stop. I don't know why, but it hurts." With a deep, sorrowful sigh, Elias took the cursed hourglass. He turned it upright. The silver sand paused, then began to fall as it should. The boy looked up, a flicker of confusion in his eyes, and then he simply vanished. He didn't age forward. He just ceased to be, erased from existence. All that remained was the quiet rhythmic sound of falling sand in the now silent palace. Elias returned to his shop, his heart heavier than ever before. He locked the silver hourglass away in a dark chest, vowing never again to meddle with the fundamental laws of time. His hands, which had once been so steady, now trembled with the profound weight of his age. He looked at his own reflection and saw that the grains of his own life, once a vast shore, were now just a precious few. In his quest to give others time, he had spent all of his own. With the last of his strength, Elias decided to make one final hourglass. This one, however, would be different. He blew the glass with his fading breath, shaped it with his trembling hands, but left it empty. On its wooden frame, he carved a simple, powerful message. Time is not given, it is lived. As he etched the final letter, he took his last peaceful breath. In that very instant, the empty hourglass miraculously filled with a brilliant golden sand, a sand that didn't measure seconds or minutes, but the countless acts of kindness he had shown throughout his life. The next morning, the villagers found him, a serene smile on his face. Beside him on the workbench sat the golden hourglass, its sand flowing in a continuous, endless loop. They understood its meaning immediately. They took the final creation and hung it in the center of the town square, a shining monument for all to see. Its golden sand never stopped, a constant, beautiful reminder that life's true value is not in the time we possess, but in the love and kindness we share. It taught them the ultimate lesson Elias had learned. He who tries to own time will, in the end, be owned by it. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell for more tales that make you think. Until next time, live your moments well.